December 7th, 1941, a day that would be remembered forever. A day of fire, destruction, and unimaginable loss. At dawn, Pearl Harbor was quiet, just another peaceful morning in paradise. The sailors stationed here were going about their routines, enjoying their Sunday. Some were preparing for church. Others were still asleep in their bunks. The warm Hawaiian breeze carried the scent of the sea. The sound of distant waves lapping against the hulls of massive battleships filled the air. It was calm, too calm, but just beyond the horizon, a storm was coming. The Imperial Japanese Navy had launched a massive, coordinated attack. Their fleet, 6 aircraft carriers strong, carried 353 warplanes, fighters, bombers, and torpedo planes. And they were headed straight for Pearl Harbor. For years, tensions had been rising. Japan's expansion into China, the invasion of Manchuria, and their growing presence in the Pacific had alarmed the United States. In response, America cut off Japan's oil supply, imposed economic sanctions, and froze their assets. This left Japan with a difficult choice: retreat or fight. Their leaders saw war as inevitable, and so they struck first. Their goal? Cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet before America could respond. The first wave approaches. On the morning of December 7th, a fleet of 183 Japanese aircraft approached Pearl Harbor. Flying in perfect formation, the sun glinted off their wings as they sliced through the sky. They flew low, hugging the waves, staying undetected for as long as possible. Radar operators at Opana Point saw them coming. A massive cluster of blips appeared on their screen, but their warning was dismissed. The officer on duty believed it was just a group of returning American B-17 bombers from the mainland. It was a fatal mistake. At 7:55 a.m., the skies erupted. The attack begins. Out of nowhere, bombs and torpedoes rained down on Battleship Row. The USS Arizona took a direct hit to its forward magazine. In an instant, a catastrophic explosion tore through the ship. The blast was so powerful that it lifted the massive battleship out of the water before it sank beneath the waves. 1,177 men were trapped inside. Nearby, the USS Oklahoma was struck by multiple torpedoes. The ship rolled onto its side, trapping hundreds of sailors inside as water rushed in. Some managed to escape through small portholes, but for many, there was no way out. Flames and smoke filled the harbor. The sound of machine guns, sirens, and screaming men echoed through the chaos. The USS West Virginia, USS California, and USS Nevada also took devastating hits. Some sailors jumped into the burning water to escape, only to be caught in the thick, flaming oil coating the surface. The Japanese pilots were relentless. Their torpedoes were specially designed for Pearl Harbor's shallow waters. They knew exactly where to strike. On the ground, U.S. forces scrambled to respond. Anti-aircraft gunners rushed to their stations, desperately firing into the sky. Pilots ran to their planes, but many were destroyed before they could take off. Despite the overwhelming attack, some American pilots, like George Welch and Kenneth Taylor, managed to get airborne and fought back, taking down multiple Japanese planes. But the damage was already done. The second wave, 8:40 a.m. Just as survivors tried to regroup, a second wave of Japanese bombers arrived. See this time. They targeted airfields, fuel depots, and hangars. Hickam Field, Wheeler Army Airfield, and Ford Island were devastated. Planes were destroyed on the ground, ensuring that American forces had little chance of counterattacking. Meanwhile, Japanese pilots swooped low, strafing sailors and civilians with machine gun fire. Nowhere was safe. Cat, 9:45 a.m., the attack was over. The Japanese fleet turned back to their carriers, leaving Pearl Harbor in flames. Aftermath, a nation awakened. The damage was staggering. White heavy checkmark, 2,403 Americans lost their lives. White heavy checkmark, 1,178 were wounded. White heavy checkmark, 21 ships were damaged or destroyed. White heavy checkmark, nearly 200 aircraft were lost. The U.S. Pacific Fleet was left in ruins. But something far greater had been ignited, the determination of an entire nation. the United States declares war. The very next day, President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed the nation. Studio microphone, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. His words shook the world. Within 24 hours, Congress declared war on Japan. Just days later, Germany and Italy declared war on the U.S. America had officially entered World War II. Pearl Harbor was meant to cripple the United States, but it had the opposite effect. It awakened a sleeping giant. The road to victory. In the months that followed, the U.S. launched counteroffensives across the Pacific. The United States, the Doolittle raid struck back at Japan. Anchor the Battle of Midway turned the tide of war. Fire Iwo Jima and Okinawa paved the way for victory. By 1945, after 4 years of brutal combat, the war came to an end. Legacy and remembrance. Today, the USS Arizona Memorial stands as a tribute to those who gave their lives. More than 900 sailors remain entombed inside the ship's sunken hull, a permanent reminder of the cost of war. Visitors from around the world come to Pearl Harbor to pay their respects, to remember, and to honor the fallen. Their sacrifice must never be forgotten. Final words. Pearl Harbor was more than just an attack. Small Blue Diamond, it was a turning point in history. Small Blue Diamond, it was a moment that changed the course of the world. Small Blue Diamond, and it serves as a reminder to stay vigilant, to learn from the past, and to honor those who fought for freedom. If this story moved you, please leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe.